So Graeme, as our national practice lead for asset intensive and IoT, you've been involved in so many successful Maximo implementations across utilities, airports, any big infrastructure type oriented or engineering firms, any big infrastructure type organisation. I know you talk about the need to have, for an organisation to have its data sorted as almost like a prerequisite for this journey that you talk about, from a reactive mode of asset management and asset maintenance to that nirvana of a predictive mode. Could you talk to us a little bit about that sort of flow and that journey?
Yeah, sure, Tim. 20 years ago, if asset management was knowing what assets you had, where they were and who was responsible for them. Now we're looking at predictive and prescriptive, knowing when an asset's going to fail before it fails. And also, one step beyond that is, the asset's going to fail, but if you actually shut down that asset or work on that asset on this particular day, due to staffing, OH&S, even the weather, you'll save the organisation a lot of money.
Yep.
But the first step is organisations, if they're immature, they're reactive. An asset fails and they react to fix it. Now the cost of the business can be quite enormous,
sure,
as you can imagine, and because what does that mean when their critical asset shuts down like that? What does it mean to your business?
Well, you've got to find a replacement, right?
Yeah, well that's right. The plant or the manufacturing machinery could shut down for days or weeks.
Yeah.
And you may not have the spares.
Yeah.
So then the next step is moving to a more planned. So planning your maintenance in advance and having a scheduled plan 2 years out.
Right.
The one step after that is condition-based maintenance. So letting sensors and whether it's a video, whether it's a temperature sensor, vibration sensor, talk to you and let you know that asset is playing up.
Yeah.
So you can react to it before it shuts down. Then you bring in mobility. So mobile devices, people are out in the field, and their mobile devices are telling them all about the asset when they get there. They can schedule their routing and they'll be more efficient. The step after that is where we've really come in the last couple of years. There's been an exponential growth, and that is predictive. Now, predictive is you've got information from weather, you've got information from sensors, temperature, video information. You know what work crews worked on that asset. You know what parts they used for that asset.
Temperature, vibration levels.
Absolutely, and your asset is talking to you, so you know the health of the asset. So that asset will then turn around and actually say, I need attention, or I'm okay.
Yeah.
You don't have to touch me, and if you don't have to touch me, then you can that scheduled maintenance could be reduced. So you can save a lot of money by understanding the health of your asset. And then there's predictive and there's prescriptive. So prescriptive is nirvana. Nirvana is, the asset's failing, but if you work on it on this particular time at this particular day, you're going to save the organisation a lot of money. But before you can have all this, do all the really cool stuff, you've got to have your data right.
Yes, you do.
Because you can't. If in your data, if you've got duplications, you don't have the right asset types, the right asset names, the data on the work that was completed before, whether it's text or written, if you don't have that information collected, you're blind. So part of this journey of moving up that maturity path is definitely having good data governance strategy in place. Yeah.
Oh, Graeme, I mean, for me, that is just the true evolution of the value of data within the scope of being able to reduce costs, improve efficiencies, and then future-proof you for the organisations. As you said, asset-intensive industry, and asset management's been around for a long time. Now, one of the challenges with that is, the applications that are driving that want data in a highly structured format to meet the environment in which that application has been developed. But as you've already mentioned, Graeme, you've got valuable data that you need to bring in from IoT, from sensors, from weather channels, from a whole lot of other areas that can be received in a digital form. But you can't sort of take this huge amount of real-time, semi-real-time, flow of data and stick it into an aging application, because that application has a purpose. Now, you can stick it into a data lake, right? And you can then connect that data lake to the application and to the source of that information, and then you can then build models on that. You can build, the inputs into that, nirvana that you want to achieve, because it's when you bring all of those pieces together in the right format and then connect them, that you can then make that cost reduction. You make that huge saving for the organisation.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean re-engineering your asset management application. It's about empowering that asset management application to be part of a bigger solution, where the data it has and the data that it can bring in the other area comes together, and it's a 1 + 1 = 3, 4 or 5 when you bring it together. And you know what? The flexibility and the agility of having that data residing in a cloud-based lake, which means you can spin it up, you can grow, you can shrink, you can do that sort of stuff. You haven't had to change any of your internal infrastructure costs.
Yeah.
Means that you're going to embrace it straight away.
So from our point of view at ISW, as an IBM Platinum partner and a lowly Informatica Gold partner, Jacob, this is quite exciting for us, because this is a classic approach of ours, as a system integrator, like taking best of breed applications, whichever vendor they come from, and combining those into solutions for our customer. Am I right in saying that?
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of big asset management organisations go for these large tenders.
They do.
Yeah.
And when they're tendering for either a build or a maintain type tender, they say to me one of their biggest issues is not knowing the condition of the data of the piece of work they could actually win.
Yeah.
That makes a massive difference to how successful their project would be, or how much work they have to do to fix that up first.
Yeah, which brings us back to that need, Jacob, to do a discovery exercise on an organisation's data.
Yep.
And we've talked about spreadsheets and static snapshots of organisational data. Not good enough. Nice try, but not good enough. Immediately out of date, limited value. But to create that dynamic, through a discovery exercise, to create that dynamic, workflow-enabled catalogue, now you're starting to really come to terms and unlock that value of your data.
You're absolutely right, Tim, because as soon as you start cataloguing that information and you understand the different structures of the data in the different sources, you can then build those quality rules, which you can then apply, automate into the data pipelines as that data is moving in and out of the environment, and you get a consistency of what that data looks like, the quality of it, that you can then deliver it to the applications or the individuals that are then making decisions based on that. And it really is, being able to now decouple that whole quality layer and that enrichment layer from the actual applications and the source means that you've got the ability to move very, very quickly. And you get consistency because it is an automated layer. And if anything changes, then it goes through a whole data stewards process to tell somebody who cares about it that the IoT sensor, somebody did an update or a patch to it, and now it's sending 2 extra characters. We pick that up. Okay, what does that mean? Those 2 extra characters could be, interpreted as that's a particular part on a wellhead or something, right? Because a lot of this stuff is small, minute pieces of information, tiny packets of information, but then you can then say, okay, well that an X and a Y with a dash Z means this, right? And here's the business terminology that it means. And that then feeds into the field applications in that mobility. They're not looking at an X, Y, dash Z. They're looking at, wellhead pump, I don't know, I'm not an engineer, thingy-jiggy, right?
Yeah.
And that means something to them rather than just a small cryptic code. Because that, for me, that's one of the challenges with how do you make these powerful applitions that were developed in the 80s and the 90s and are instrumental part of the business. That's not going to go away, but the data in it's been highly condensed, it's highly crunched down, because storage was a challenge back then. Yeah, we've all got grey hair, so we know how much storage was a challenge back then. Storage is no longer a challenge, but those applications haven't changed. So we now to be able to take that and translate that and enlighten it to be meaningful business-based terminology.
So one of my takeouts from that, Jacob, is that the value of data is not proportional to the amount of data.
Correct.
The value of data is proportional to how well that data is maintained and identified. Yeah?
Very true. Very true too. Yeah.
There's a famous example of this in France when they were building the fast train, and their data was incorrect, and it turns out, I don't know the actual number, but I think it's something in the region of 200 stations. The platforms were too big, and because the train wouldn't go past the platform. So it cost something like €1 billion to fix this up, because they had to shave all these platforms. Because the fast train they'd built wouldn't actually go past the It's crazy.
I don't know, but bring that closer to home. I mean, so the new trains about 10 years ago, some of the platforms, the gap, they're too low because the engineers, once again, the data was there, but it was not looked at.
Can trains go from New South Wales to Queensland nowadays?
I think the border's open now, we might allow it.